We all love our home, right? Every home that we live in matters because we live here all the time, and it's very important to know what makes you comfortable, what environment you're in, and where you're at location-wise. So I'm going to tell you a few facts about why some people love living in the suburbs versus some people living in the city, and some of the cool facts about Seattle that you might not know already, and why the city is growing as big as it is if you've been recently listening to the news or paying attention to any of the market rates. They're increasing quite a bit, and a lot of it has to do with businesses, population, just a matter of everybody's convenience and living in the city. But some people just don't like that hustle and bustle, so they like living in the suburbs as well. Some of the cool things about living in Seattle are the businesses that they have, the opportunity that they have. Huge businesses, if you look at this visual here, like Boeing, Amazon, Google, Starbucks, Microsoft, Pepsi, probably all heard of all these. You probably already use some of this product as well. These are huge companies, and all of them have offices in Seattle, and they're bringing people in like nobody's business. I mean, I think there was a huge increase in businesses just over the last year that brought everyone to Seattle, and now everybody's moving there. So there's a lot of reason for that. Some of the statistics I learned is about 15,000 to 70,000 people work for these businesses. The top ones are Microsoft, Boeing, Amazon. You're probably hearing about this all the time, but it's really important that you know this because it's affecting everybody's lifestyle. Just in population alone in the last year, there was a 2.8% increase, which actually does promote, like I said, more people coming into the city, more people moving to the city, but there's also the benefit of living in the suburbs as well, because everybody knows that you want a yard for your dog. Just like little Fido over here. Loves that yard outside, so that's part of living in the suburbs. You can't get that in the city. So I'll tell you a few things about pros and cons about living in the city and the suburbs. Also, cost of living has increased to about $12.45 is the average rent in Seattle right now, which can be quite high. And that's not even for studio. That's for like studio apartments, for like the smallest, tiniest box you can imagine. And this has increased hundreds of dollars just over the last year. Some of the pros and cons of living in Seattle is the convenience. You can walk here and there very quickly. You have bus transportation everywhere you go. You don't get that as much in the suburbs. There are some cons to it though. It's very noisy all the time. There's not a lot of people that like that environment. People usually love living where it's quiet, but there's definitely people that have changed their mind just for the simple fact of convenience. The cost of living is clearly higher in the city versus the suburbs. You don't get much for what you pay for, but it's the convenience that people are living there. Parking ranges anywhere from $150 to $300 a month just to have your car sitting there in Seattle. People don't like that very much. However, the commute can be pretty crazy. Sometimes if you live in cities that are close by, like Magnolia, Ballard, some cities like Queen Anne, these are all locations nearby the city where you get the best of both worlds, which is really nice. I've actually lived in a couple areas myself, and I've learned that I've enjoyed living in the city just based on the fact that everything's around me. But I also have that feeling inside where I miss all my family, and I wish that I was home in a nice big house where I can someday have a family, which a lot of people like. Things in the city that people love are monuments like the Space Needle, Pike Place Market, all these places that you're able to go to that you couldn't get really here. You'd have to drive like 30 minutes just to get to. So that's kind of nice, and you notice people are coming through all the time, especially the market. There's quite a bit there. Some of the pros and cons of living in the suburbs: peace and quiet away from the city noise, more space in a yard, like I said, for Fido out there. You get these dogs over here, obviously. Have a lot of playtime over there. There are places in Seattle, but it's actually a lot more minimal because there's not as many grassy patches where people can have a full-on yard for them. The commute for work, transportation costs, this can add up, you know, when you think about driving to and from work every single day, depending on where you're going, whether it's an hour away, whether it's 20 minutes away. A lot of times for businesses, like the big businesses like Boeing or Microsoft, people drive 20, 30 minutes, so they're moving into the city just for that reason. So those transportation gas costs can cost quite a bit of money, hundreds of dollars. Long distance to the grocery stores, things to do. That can be a con of living in the suburbs. However, like I said before, more space, peace and quiet, some of those are very good pros to living in the suburbs. Most of the time, what people think about is lifestyle. Is your lifestyle more beneficial to the city? Is it more beneficial for the suburbs? You have to look at all of your different aspects of that and kind of weigh those pros and cons out and see what works best for you. A lot of people just like familiarization, like living where they're at right now. They don't like change, but at the same time, they aren't always educated, and that's why I'm here to help you out. Affording to live in the city can cost quite a bit. So a lot of people realize rent isn't as important as paying for things to do. But overall, more companies are moving in. It's not really going to change. Everything's increasing. As you see this is kind of a little visual I had here. Shows how increased over like 100 years, basically. How housing and cost of living is going up, but people's income isn't necessarily hitting that point. And now with that whole $15 an hour, that's just a little thing that has been going around that people have looked at as the cost of living versus how much they're making, and not everybody gets that benefit. But it's really important to realize exactly what lifestyle you live, exactly how how convenient it is for you to live in a city, or if it's more important for you to live at home in a larger house over time.